Data formats. Data can be divided into three categories by its format: structured, unstructured, and semi-structured. Structured data has been organized for effective analysis. It is often stored in tables with columns of variables and rows of individual data points. Structured data generally follows a fixed schema of attributes. For example, a library database may include formal and specific columns for information containing data such as ISBN numbers, authors, publishers, etc. In unstructured data, each data point is slightly different from the others. Often there may be a mix of elements such as text and graphics. Unstructured data may be a bit of a jumble. For example, data scraped from websites including mixed media of audio, visual, tabular, and even animated data. Semi-structured data has some structured components, but a little bit less than unstructured data might. Semi-structured data might include images in a variety of different file formats, resolutions, aspect ratios, or of different topics. However, they are all fundamentally 2D forms of pictorial information. When you're working with massive amounts of data, you have to think about the security of that data. There are increasingly strict data protection laws being rolled out around the world. For example, the International Safe Harbor Privacy Principles may allow data to be moved to a jurisdiction considered safe, but not to another, which may not be considered trustworthy. There can be very large fines, up to 2% of global revenue, for not complying with certain data protection laws, such as with the General Data Protection Regulations of the European Union. No matter what jurisdiction operations are based in, one must be mindful of interacting with denizens of another jurisdiction. Some companies simply refuse service to some jurisdictions that they cannot or prefer not to meet the standards of. There are some categorical distinctions between data at rest and data in motion. Data at rest is data stationed on a system where it is likely to remain there for the foreseeable future. Assuming that the system that it's on and any network it is exposed to is secure, it is likely to remain safe. Data in motion is data in the process of moving between systems, possibly even moving between locations or jurisdictions. It has a comparatively greater risk of being intercepted or lost compared to data at rest. However, data at rest often presents a more appealing target to attackers, as they can steal or destroy a lot of data all at once. There are some challenges to working with data of this size and complexity. We must be careful not to get lost within heuristics. A heuristic is a rough, quick rule that works most of the time, but not always. Representativeness heuristics are used by our brains to infer patterns. Therefore, when working with data, we need to be extremely mindful to avoid jumping to conclusions too soon. For example, the way that someone dresses might cause us to make assumptions about their wealth or politics, even if that's not necessarily the case. People may dress a certain way as part of the duties of a job, for example. Availability bias is another issue. That's a mental shortcut that relies on immediate, urgent information and tries to generalize the findings using only the most obvious information, and it therefore skews our judgments towards the more recent information that we've received. For example, people tend to overestimate causes of death that make the news, such as airplane crashes, and underestimate causes of death that don't, such as heart disease. So much is possible with big data that wasn't possible before. We are producing vast amounts of data exhaust from our daily personal and professional activities. Thanks to smartphones, the Internet of Things, high-speed connections, and high-resolution sensors, we are increasing the amount of data in the world by massive amounts in a very short period of time. Data is the driver of algorithmic automation, such as machine intelligence. It can even be compared to fuel. Without data, such systems cannot function effectively. Cleaning data up to ensure its value and validity are essential steps in enabling safe and trustworthy automation.